level and find out a way to work that out. I still like the idea of an anonymous call to action and then people just coming out like a flash mob the way it has been. That's part of what's been so powerful. When you don't put a face on it, it's everybody's face on it.
I'd just like to speak to your comment a little bit, or your question. I think one danger of having a leader come forward is that it's kind of an excuse to not self-educate sometimes. You know, if somebody's out there saying, this is what we believe, you're not as likely to go out and decide what you believe. And I think that that's a very important thing that we've been doing out here, is having these discussions and talking to each other about our individual problems, our individual beliefs, and really learning from each other.
You know, I'm on the media committee, and one of the things we struggled with was the issue of spokespersons. We had an invitation from Vanderbilt to spend 2 people for a panel, and the GA decided we didn't want to send anybody because how can 2 people represent the group? It's a dilemma in publicity and media. It's worked out. We've had great media, although I will say, like for instance today I had a lunch with a friend that was like kind of confused about the movement, and he said he's seen these interviews where they just grab one person, and we got this range. We got anarchists, we got libertarians, we got Republicans, we got Democrats, we got everything, so they can pick any one to interview, but I think as a whole it works somehow.
I came in kind of late, but I feel like we've been talking a lot, and I would like to hear more what you have in mind and what you've been thinking about and what you ladies have been thinking about, if you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts on the matter.
Well, I don't have anything wrong with to say.
Yeah. Can I say one thing about what he just said? If you believe polling data, 29% of the people are against us, 29 or 40 have no idea why we're here. You got to swing that 40%.
They need to come.
They're
and
not going to
educate
come.
themselves.
They're going to sit in front of their TV and watch.
But we're only 1 month old here.
Yeah, I think we're doing for 1 month.
Now we're going to go with him. How's it say?
I have tremendous hope. I think that the thing that has been said earlier is giving me tremendous hope. We've really come out of a period of apathy. The 80s and 90s have been tragically apathetic. I do believe that some of what we're suffering is a reaction to the 60s and 70s movement. We were, in many ways, a very successful movement at that time, and it really scared the people, the powers that be, a good deal. And they absolutely came down on us very, very heavily in response to that. And I feel very badly that my generation kind of dropped the ball there and allowed that to happen. I mean, we were raising kids, you know, it's the same issues that are happening now. You know, you get into your life and you're raising your children and you're trying to do right by them and your community, and things just slide by, and it's a bad thing that's happening. I do believe leaderless is important, to have a leaderless movement rather than appointing a leader. Hearing the dialogue is amazing, truly amazing, and I think that we will probably have people who speak well, who will end up speaking. I think the movement will bring them forward. Their lives will be at stake if they're very, very effective and charismatic also. I do believe that very strongly. But I think it has to happen. It's time. This is our time.
Right. The gentleman in the TSU hat, did you want to add to the dialogue? You've been quiet for so long.
No, I'm just learning.
Listening.
It's very confusing. Like some of you have been saying. Like when you sit home, watch TV, you see a lot of people holding placards saying different things. So I just decided to just come here and take a look at it.
Thank you.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Because it is. We all have very different ideas, all of us. And so when we come together, if we can agree on an idea and get consensus, that gives it great power. Because we have so many differences. And right now the political system concentrates on our differences, and we end up just fighting and arguing rather than finding where we agree. And that's what this movement is about.
This strongly agree.
I have a question to ask people. You know, there are a lot of people who agree on a lot of these issues, and at the same time are very apathetic. You know, I'll quote a good friend of mine. He's like, "Yeah, I believe in a lot of these things, but it's so hard to give a shit." You know, how do we overcome that apathy? How do we fight apathy?
I think that you fight it with two ways. One is persistence. I mean, when I first came, it was like, well, I give this man credit here because at the very first or the second meeting, and we were debating whether we plan or we do it, he said, no, by God, we're going down to Occupy, and he just marched down here and occupied. Then that required a reaction from everybody else, and it began to build and began to build. And it went through fragile states, and I went through this manic depressive phase. Is this crazy? Is this going to work? What are we doing? And you see that collective ability pull together and build it, and so we have more people out. Look, we got a line of tents there and there that weren't there before. So we have more people that come out and support it, more awareness, and I think that will inspire people who are apathetic. They'll gradually start, and then two, if we can build the technology tools to make it easy to interact, to make it easy for those people that like staying at home. You know, give them a way they can contribute to the dialogue, and that I believe is the big challenge.
The easiest way to overcome apathy is to show them that you can actually accomplish.
Yeah.
When we decided to march on the NES, the top guy, Jenkins, came down here to say, oh, please don't. He tried to explain himself to us. Now, did it stop us? No. But I tell you what, it gave a lot of us a little more gumption to go out and march again. Find something else, another target that needs to be attacked. And trust me, there are thousands of them in the city. This is a great big corporate city. We got plenty of things to shine a light on. And that's how you get rid of apathy. There are a lot of people that are here today who 3 weeks ago were sitting at home apathetic. Maybe one or two of you here right now.
I came out from the first week and I had to step away. It was just a little bit much, and I was so conflicted about because people were working it out, and there were, especially the overnight campers, had some concerns, and the way it was being articulated, I didn't feel comfortable with, and I had to walk away. And then I came back, and I'm glad I did. But with the apathy issue, I have a very good friend in Memphis. He is a very active person. He is not apathetic, but he has come up through, when I want to get things done, I go to my local DNC and I volunteer and I stump and I do voter reg and I do everything through the political parties. And so when we messaged with each other, he kept saying, I don't see how this is going to work. You guys need to pick a side and throw your support behind a candidate. And I said, that's exactly what won't work, because we don't want that. I don't want to scare off somebody who's maybe conservative or who isn't going to vote Democratic or who doesn't vote at all, because they think that this is secretly a shell movement for the Democratic Party. And I told him, I said, the one thing that we don't talk about when we're up here are our political affiliations, because what we're going to do in the voting booth at the end of the day is private and sacred to us own. About a month later, we've been going back and forth about this. He sent me an email last week and he said, in less than 60 days, you all have gotten Bank of America to back down on their fees, although they won't admit it was you. You have gotten senators to introduce legislation to repeal and start taking the teeth out of Citizens United. You've gotten almost 1 million people, 650,000 people, to move their money into local credit unions and small banks. You haven't said a word about politics and voting. And you've been more effective in less than 60 days with your unclear message than I have ever seen any movement that I have donated my time and efforts into. I'm sorry I was wrong. I'm going to go check out Memphis.
Can we post that to our website? Can you get his permission, Steve? Let us post that to our website.
I will get his permission. He blogs on daily costs and things like that. So I'll see if maybe he wants to, yeah.
And I always tell people, this is not a liberal movement. This is not a conservative movement, a Republican movement, a Democratic movement, a Libertarian movement, a Green Party movement. This is common sense.
It's an American movement.
It's just common sense.
Another thing about the apathy thing. Anything, whether it's a commercial product or movement, and I forget the designation, Michael, you might know, or anybody might know, is it's the early adopters, or the innovators, then the early adopters, then the late adopters. There's like 5 stages. And the first stage is a small group of people that come together. And then a little bit larger group comes and says, okay, they're trendsetters, I'm going to follow them. And then a much bigger group, and then the late adopters, the big mass comes at the end, and then the very tail end. And so we're in just the second phase of that growth. We're in the early adopter phase. And
Perhaps even still the first
maybe even the first phase.
Yeah, typically with consumerism, new technologies, it's the technology, the scientists, they develop the platform, it rolls out. The youth tend to be the early adapters and the tech savvy, and then it goes into the trend followers, like you said, and friends and family, and then it rolls out into late adapters, and then you nailed it perfectly. That's how if we were a wireless company trying to figure out if our cell phone was going to work before we launched it out, we would look and go, well, the kids are buying the ringtones. Yeah.
I just want to, we're pretty good at doing this. It's something we need to keep being good at doing. It doesn't matter if you've been here 3 weeks. It doesn't matter if you've been here for 5 minutes. Your voice, we need to make it clear to everybody that their voice is important too.
I believe it's important just to let people know that we're not going anywhere, and this movement is going to be around, and it's not just on the corner or in the city, but your next door neighbor or your family member, a close relative. We need to really let people know and inform others of what we are going to accomplish. And to let people know that, because a lot of people are, they're looking at the Occupy movement as, oh, well, how long is it going to be until they crumble, until they collapse? So once we, by our testimony, prove that we're here to stay, then we're going to be waking people up. And then we're going to be more receptive to what we have to say.
I think it's going to help. Sorry.
I just wanted to speak to the apathy aspect and overcoming that. And I actually had an experience with that with my family. Was down a few weeks ago from Florida, who I hadn't seen, my sister and my niece, 7-year-old niece, hadn't seen them in like 2 years. And on October 22nd, I said, hey, let's go downtown, let's hang out, see what's going on, with my, ulterior motive. Brought them up to the steps. There was a GA going on, and they said, you know what, let's go on the march. My 7-year-old niece marched with us. And the way that she overcame that apathy is she hated the marching because she's 7 years old, she doesn't want to march, but she ended up, and she still does it, she calls me every morning and says, Banks got bailed out, you know what I'm saying? And she's homeschooled. My sister, who's a millionaire, by the way, took her money out of the banks as a result of just that day, that one experience, and she is now teaching my niece about civil disobedience and civil liberties. That's part of her curriculum now at home. So that was my experience in overcoming that apathy, and I wasn't in her face, screaming about it. It was just, let's go enjoy the day.
I just want to, before I make my comments, if you guys have anything to say, kind of speak up, because we probably won't see you in here, but just give a shout. I also want to say, as far as proving that we're here to stay, after the winter, I think we're going to see a lot of new spring growth. Once we prove we can make it through that cold, and prove we have that dedication,
I think you are next, and then I want to speak next.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick, Gandhi was a great guy, and he had great things that he liked to say. He said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And I know we can win, because we're going to remain correct, we're going to remain moral, but most of all, we're going to be transparent in everything we do. And that's why I know we're going to win.
I want to say in engaging and pulling people in is that, like when you have a military operation, the first thing that happens is reconnaissance. And the way we do reconnaissance is we ask questions. We ask questions, what do you care about? What keeps you awake at night? And I want to share a conversation with you I had, and this is a guy that runs one of the biggest companies on Music Row in Nashville, and he deals with the corporate world. He's living in the belly of the beast. And he worked his way up from the mailroom. And he's from Portland, Tennessee. He's a small town Christian conservative Fox News kind of guy. And this was in the '08 elections. We give each other crap over politics. So one day I said to him, I said, Troy, I said, what issues are important to you? And he kind of looked like the deer in the headlights. And he said, well, family values are important to me. And I said, oh, you mean gay marriage? And he said, yeah, the family is an institution we should protect. I said, Troy, do you lay awake in bed at night every night and worry about that? And he laughed real big and said, no. I said, what do you lay awake in bed at night and worry about? And he said, I worry about these big giant corporations that are running people out of business and squeezing profits out of everybody, marketing to my kids. And he went on for 3 minutes. I said, Troy, that's exactly what I worry about. And that question, what keeps you awake at night, put us on common ground. Instead of me arguing this one issue of, about gay marriage, I just stayed away from it. I said, what keeps you awake at night?
Or about Occupy. I mean, you'll hit a nerve. You stay here long enough and you confront issues because they're the people's issues. Everybody worries about, their declining paycheck or the cost of their health care or whatever issue. I mean, you keep bringing those things to light and showing people that you support them. You'll hit a nerve, and it will bring more people out of their apathy to come down and get support for what they need.
And like this your story here about your sister, sister-in-law's a millionaire, there's people in the 1% that support us, and I think that's the only bad thing about our slogan is I think they're just a symptom. They aren't the cause, they're the symptom. There may be a 0.1% that's really wicked people, but the majority of them just got lucky in life and blessed, but they got either children or brothers or sisters or nephews or nieces or friends of their children that are struggling with paying bills and surviving, and they have a connection to it. Even if they got a little bit of sheltered life, they may be living in a gilded cage, but everybody's got a connection to it somehow. If you ask those questions and do that reconnaissance of questions.
We had our first march down in Murfreesboro yesterday.
How did that go?
It went fairly well. It was a bank march.
How many people?
There were about 70 there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Lots of new faces, so that was really nice to see. And afterwards, I stuck around for about 2 hours just talking to people on the streets about things that are important to them, things that we can talk about. I think that's really effective if after marches, instead of coming straight back here and, maybe this is something to bring up in another group, but if we disperse and talk to everybody around, it really, like a civil conversation can do so much.
Oh, it is the magic. It is magic. Yeah.
Hey, why don't we take this group conversation over there and have it on live stream? There's we could tune hundreds of people into what's going on here, and